coming up as Mountain News First and 4 starts right now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, a couple in Georgetown found themselves staring down the barrel of a gun being held by a shooting suspect. That was right after he allegedly had just shot and killed Scott County Sheriff's Deputy Caleb Conley along the interstate. While the entire encounter only lasted a few minutes, the couple says it felt like an eternity and went from a simple request for help to a forceful demand for their car and included threats on their life. The man, who police would later identify as the suspect, Stephen Xinjiang, had approached another neighbor asking for their vehicle or a ride, but they refused. That's when the man returned to Gary and Rebecca McQuain's home and forced his way inside.
He finally got in the kitchen, and he never made a threat to shoot her, but he said to her 4 different times, he said, "I want the keys to the van right now or I'm going to shoot him." And he kept pointing back at me with the gun.
And then in just a couple minutes, I realized there's blood drops all on the floor where this guy was standing. So I don't know where he was bleeding from, but he was bleeding because neither one of us, thankfully, were injured.
The couple's white Dodge Caravan was found abandoned in Lexington. The suspect left his Nissan Murano in their driveway, which was towed away from the scene around midnight last night. Our Phil Pendleton spoke with some of Deputy Caleb Conley's friends today. We'll have more on that coming up in our next half hour at 4:30. We are approaching 1 year since 3 officers and a K-9 were killed in the Allen community of Floyd County. Sheriff John Hunt says when he heard about the line-of-duty death of Scott County Deputy Caleb Conley yesterday, it took him back to the tragic event his county faced last June.
You absolutely reflect on it. It just hits you in the stomach real hard, you know, like, oh my God, and, you know, another family's got to go through this again, another department, another agency. It's just it can't help but remind you of the long process ahead of what these people have coming.
Sheriff Hunt says they could have not made it through this past 11 months without community support. He adds he is confident the Scott County community will rally together like Floyd County did. Kentucky State Police are releasing more information today about a homicide in the Combs community of Perry County Sunday night. Investigators say 59-year-old Danny Holland of Mansfield, Ohio, and 42-year-old Jason Combs of Jackson got into a fight. Investigators say that's when Holland fired a shot in the direction of Combs. KSB investigators say Combs was taken to Hazard ARH, where he was pronounced dead by the Perry County Coroner's Office. Holland was treated for minor injuries, then placed under arrest and taken to the Kentucky River Regional Jail. Investigators have charged Danny Holland with 1 count of murder. People using US 119 in one section of Pike County will find lane closings starting tomorrow. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet says the project will get started around 7 tomorrow morning near Pike Central High School. They plan to add a lane on the inside of the median for drivers to accelerate to highway speed. The north and southbound inside lanes of 119 will be closed at that location to accommodate the work. The work will happen during daylight hours from about 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday. The project is expected to take about 10 to 12 weeks to finish.
Another sunny one out there region-wide as we continue to see high pressure in place all throughout the mountains. That's a story that looks to continue for at least a few more days, so the dry weather continues. A look outside from London Corbin Airport at this hour. Fair weather clouds out there. One over the sun right now. You can see skies a little bluer than the past couple of days. They're at 80 on the dot. Temperatures, and likewise, near 80 in many parts of the Cumberland Valley, even up into parts of the Kentucky River Valley, middle and upper 70s. It's been mostly dry throughout much of our region, though you look, say you're in places like Monticello, like Somerset, and you look off to the west and you're seeing some of those towers go up and you think, oh, it might be about to rain. Well, those are moving to the west and just kind of drifting, so not much out there. I can't rule out a spotty shower out near the lake, but other than that, pretty good shape as we head through the next 12 hours. We drop yet again into the upper 50s as we head through tonight. Steve, I have the latest on one front moving through here that won't have too much of an impact, but another that looks to bring the potential for showers back to the region, unfortunately, as we head closer to Memorial Day weekend. I'm tracking everything in a few minutes.
All right, Evan, thank you. A driver is facing multiple charges after slamming a U-Haul truck into a security barrier near the White House last night. There were no reported injuries to any Secret Service or White House personnel, but a United States law enforcement official tells CBS News the suspect made threatening statements directed at the vice president and the president. CBS's Nicole D'Antonio has the latest from the White House.
Social media footage shows the moment the U-Haul driver tried to ram the truck past barriers near the White House Monday night. The incident took place around 10 p.m. at a security barrier at Lafayette Square, which is about a block back from the White House fence. A U.S. law enforcement official tells CBS News there were no explosives in the vehicle and no weapons, and there were no reported injuries to anybody in the Secret Service or the White House. Video of the aftermath appears to show officers collecting evidence, including a Nazi flag.
The U.S. Park Police say a preliminary investigation indicates the 19-year-old driver intentionally crashed into the barriers. He's facing multiple charges.
The U.S. citizen from Chesterfield, Missouri is charged with assault with dangerous weapon, reckless operation of a motor vehicle, and threatening to kill, kidnap, inflict harm on a president, vice president, or family member. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, the White House.
He is also charged with destruction of federal property and trespassing. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is criticizing the Biden administration for delaying debt limit negotiations. The House Speaker is also telling reporters it is possible the two sides could finish by the June 1st deadline. McCarthy says Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen picks the deadline. He says Republicans wanted to resolve the debt ceiling issue long before now, but blames the president and Democrats for pushing it to the last minute.
There are certain things that divide us, and we know that there is. You cannot spend more money next year than we spent this year. Clear as day. We've got to help people get back into work requirements. You've got to be able to cut this red tape where people can build again in America. You know, there's a lot of avenues out there that they've got to find. You've got to come to agreement there.
Stocks fell on Wall Street as the United States government creeps closer to the edge of that potentially disastrous default on its debt. We'll have a look at those numbers in our next half hour. Now to the fighting in Ukraine. A leading military analyst believes the city of Bakhmut is still being contested. That's despite Russia claiming it has taken full control of the city. Ukraine said its forces north and south of Bakhmut were advancing to entrap Russians inside the ruined city that Moscow says it captured over the weekend.
The Russians have pushed everything they had at it since August, and they've only just sort of captured the town. But equally, when you look at the imagery, I mean, there's nothing left of the town. It's a very insignificant point on the broader map.
Russian leaders say the fight for Bakhmut was the bloodiest battle for ground troops since World War II. Coming up